happening, and we are live in 3, 2, and 1, and welcome back. We're here, whether you like it or not, ladies and gentlemen. The party has arrived. I was awake. Actually, believe it or not, I've been awake before the show every single episode this time. I haven't, slept in or nothing. I've been waking up on time lately. This is ridiculous. Almost like a good night's sleep does you good. Who would have imagined a good night's sleep would actually be good for you?
That's a surprise.
Yeah, that's. So, a little bit about what I've been up to this week. It's been catch up, not for recording, but in actual gameplay content, because I realized of major oversight I've made in Atelier, which forced me to go and do a bunch of content I just neglected to do, because I found out that the next set of weapons and armor I want, which are also considered to be the best ones in the game, which is I'm right at that point where I should be able to get them soon. They're locked behind quest content and extra content, so I can't even get the recipes to make those ingredients without doing all this other content. Yeah, not a good feeling. Not a great feeling, because I had to do all the quests that are available to me, and I had to find all of the landmarks and all the areas I already had unlocked, which also sucked. Thankfully, YouTube exists, so I'm not doing this myself. No, fuck that. That was 5 hours of effort. I am not happy about the effort I put into this. Because I'm like, oh god, I have to find all these landmarks. And I'm like, wait a minute, YouTube exists. I don't have to do this. Someone else has already done it for me. Someone's already done the legwork. That's one thing I love about YouTube, man. People have done years and years of potential legwork for people like me, to where all I have to do is be like, this was not my progress. Someone else did the work for me. Link in the description to their video. Haha. I've succeeded. I have passed the buck over to somebody else. If you don't like it, deal with it. But I wasn't doing it. That was too much effort.
Well, at least you now have the equipment.
I don't have the equipment. I do not. In fact,
not yet? Okay.
No, I have.
Still missing a bit.
The quest story lock you. The quests are story locked after a certain point. So I complete all these quests only to find out that I am now story locked until I get closer to the end of the game, and then the game will let me do the rest of the quests that I want to do.
Okay.
This sucks. This is not. This isn't what I play video games for. This isn't. What I find interesting, though, and this is something I've noticed a lot on YouTube, that there's a really weird split between creators, right? So you have creators who are really good at every game they pick up, right? They pick them up and they're doing guide after guide after guide, right? And it's damn, you know all this shit? And then you got slubs like me who just have to pick it up and pray to God I don't fuck up that badly. Which is cool. It's nice. I think there should be credit to someone who's willing to figure it out, but it also kind of makes me a little self-conscious when I'm like, damn, every other video on this game is people who are fucking fantastic at it. God damn. Dude,
as long as those are also doing it themselves and not having someone figure it out for them.
Yeah, but isn't that kind of like the chicken and the egg situation? It's this person did a video guide about the game, but secretly he got the video guide from this person who secretly got it from another person. You know what I mean? You don't really ever know where it's like a needless feedback loop. It just kind of goes around and around and around and around, and then you find out there's a time traveler involved who accidentally brought the information. So now the feedback loop doesn't actually start anywhere. It actually starts from the future.
It's not just a Mobius strip.
I forget what they call that. I forget what it's called. Where someone from the future goes back and gives information, which then starts an entire feedback loop. But now no one can figure out where that feedback loop started from, because it started from a place that it shouldn't have started from to begin with, because it started from the future. It's
something in the kind of a time paradox.
Yeah, it's an information paradox.
There's probably a different definition, term for it, but
yeah,
it's kind
I
of something like that.
that happened because I was like, damn, because it's one of those things to where it's like I admit I'm not like there's certain things I'm just not good at, and like in a span of a video where they teach me battle mechanics and they're throwing at you so much shit in a single fight, they're throwing all this information at you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I'm cheeks for like 2 videos, but I promise you, after those 2 videos, I've already looked up on YouTube. I know how this combat system works now, right? I lost to like the very first boss they throw at you because I was like, why isn't this working?
Ah.
And then I'm like, oh, items. That's why. Then I made a bomb and then it died. And then I realized bombs are actually really worthwhile. So now I keep them on me. Then I'm like, how do I heal myself? Oh, wait, items. Who would have thought? There are no spells that do healing.
Wait, there's potions for healing? What?
Yeah, there's potions, there's biscuits, there's desserts. You have a full-on smorgasbord of things you can eat to regain health in battle. It's ridiculous. And that's it. That's what I've learned. I've realized that sometimes you just got to spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours getting good at a game, only to come back the next video and people suddenly don't think you're the same person playing the game anymore. It happens. It just gotta push on through, man. Just gotta push on through. This controller's been on for like a day straight because I forgot to turn it off, and it's still going. Kudos to you, Nintendo. Your Pro Controller is apparently unobtainium when it comes to a battery, because this thing just does not stop. I check its battery life like every single day. It's just like, god damn, it's still going. It's only died like twice.
Yeah, the Pro Controller is really good in that regard. I think it has around, what was it, 20 hour battery life in use. So it probably has a really good power save mode when it detects it's not in use. So that's going to last you a long time.
Yeah.
On a charge, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the really good things about it. It's obviously it's not the perfect one, but
yeah, no, because like now that I've used like that, I've been using like PS5 controller. I've had my time with the Xbox controller. It's all right. Like the Pro controller, it's good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
is.
Good, it's
I
good
really
enough.
didn't like the D-pad though.
Okay.
When I used it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can find.
I know it seemed kind of a bit for one, compared to other D-pads that Nintendo made, it seems a bit mushy. And in Breath of the Wild back then, I had the issue that it's also a little inaccurate.
Oh.
That it triggers one of the, I think it's one of the diagonals or one of the sides too easily.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll.
Something's up there. It might be just that the controller is slightly defective on my end, but that's not a good thing if that happens. And
yeah, especially when you're paying like $80.
I've read about it.
Especially when
I think I've heard other people talk about that online, but it's been a while, so can't be sure on that.
When you're paying like $80 for an additional controller.
Yeah.
That's a tough.
I think it's 10 more than the usual.
No, it's not.
Controller.
I think
or was it 20 more?
It boils out a little more than like buying. I think it either boils out the same or a little more than buying normal Joy-Cons. And buying a set of Joy-Cons is pretty expensive as it is. So,
definitely.
You know, God forbid you got to buy like more than one. That's a tough situation to be in. Not certainly one I'd want to be in. That's for damn sure. Just saying. All right. Well, that's it. That's all I have for you, CD. It's been a time of me getting good at video games. That's putting my brain to use, trying to figure out how to break the system, only to realize I cannot break the system. I have to play by its rules.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
It happens a lot.
For me, this week it's been mostly one game. bloodstained on the deck.
I did see you on that a few times this week, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been putting hours into that mainly because I've been, again, pretty busy with work this week. So used my time with that mainly.
Is
Getting there.
is that the 2D? Is that the Which one is that one? Which one are you playing? Is that
It's
the modern one, or is that the retro throwback one
the
they did?
modern one. The
Okay,
modern one, Ritual of the Night.
got it.
Not the retro pixely one, but the one that they made the Kickstarter for initially,
Okay, just
which
making
was
sure.
the
Wasn't
one.
sure which one.
Yeah. And I've been defeating quite a few bosses. I'm now at about 60% of the map uncovered. Getting there, unlocking more of the areas, finding more of the powers. I'm getting closer to really being able to move underwater, but I can move underwater, but I still have no way of opening the chests that are there. So there is that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
at least I can now use one of my powers to just propel myself ahead by using essentially a blast, a high speed blast of water
Mm.
that Miriam can use through her hands, which is a nice weapon underwater as well that doesn't run out of mana in contrast to other special abilities.
Nice.
Yeah, that's at the moment that's also my only way of defending myself underwater. So yeah, it's
It's gonna
kind
have
of
to
good that
do.
it doesn't use mana.
It's gonna have
Yeah.
to do.
Mm.
If I can find.
Yeah, I'm definitely liking the game. Currently, my main weapon is a sword that I can fling ahead of me, and it returns in a spiraling motion. So
Mm.
it hits the enemies first, and then it hits them again once it returns, which is a nice double hit if I time it right, and the enemy is big enough for it to be hit both ways around. And there's a defensive ability that I equipped that surrounds me with haunted picture frames, which then float, surround me, and they defend me. And when they hit either an enemy or a projectile, they disappear one by one, but I can then just reactivate it and resummon them, which is a
Castlevania
nice
game.
one.
Castlevania games. They always
Mm-hmm.
get so creative with the way you attack people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also have a familiar with me, which is essentially a another floating sword that attacks enemies on its own,
Mm-hmm.
and it levels up as I gain experience. It also gains experience, which levels it up and makes it stronger. And as far as I know, I think it was Symphony of the Night or some other game that also has that mechanic that I can use that sword as a main equipped sword.
Mm-hmm.
And the more it's leveled up, the stronger it is.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which makes it really really useful to just have it active as often as you can as a familiar to gain levels for it,
Nice.
which is pretty much what I'm doing. The
Nice.
other sword that I'm using that gives me the range for my attacks is not as powerful, but for one, due to the double attack, that gets a bit of a counter balance, and obviously the range is really useful.
Mm-hmm. All
That
right.
can also attack enemies through walls and such. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I'm definitely continuing with that. I've still looking for a few of the powers and additional items to open up some more passages that I am currently stuck at in some areas. But yep, that's Metroidvania for you.
Uh,
Really nice.
you know, it does make me like kind of mad not super mad, but like one of my buddies is like, why don't you like? Because like I don't like Metroid games, like generally speaking, right? Like Metroid in general just doesn't. I don't know, but like
just Metroid or the Castlevanias like that as well, or is it specifically the Metroid setting that's the problem?
No, because like sci-fi could be cool. I just don't find a lot of the gameplay compelling, especially when you look at like Prime. I'm like, I don't vibe this really. Like it's a kind of a like Prime is like a cool gimmick to me, I guess. You know what I mean? Like it's something I'll play for like an hour. Yeah, it's. I'm like, cool. This is a point and click adventure like Myst. Okay, I guess that's kind of cool for the first like hour or two, right? And like. I don't know, like, I tried Dread. I didn't really vibe that one either. Like, it plays well, I just didn't vibe that game as much as I feel like I would have. But then, like, Castlevania games, I only really vibe the ones that have, like, RPG, like, ones that kind of, like, let you build on, like, the RPG stuff. Like, Symphony of the Night, a lot of the GBA ones that kind of get goofy with the weaponry. I think I've shown you the gif of Soma Cruz with Excalibur. Yeah, there's a there's a reason why I like that one so much. I think that's the only one where the kid just pulls out a fucking gun and starts just blasting motherfuckers with a pistol. Like he pulls out like a Glock. He pulls out a Glock 9 and just starts shooting Frankenstein. Like what?
Yeah, there's gun weapons in Bloodstained as well.
Yeah, see? So
you can have all kinds of weapons: swords, clubs, great swords, guns. Was it whips? Obviously.
Like I don't even mind like
a Castlevania game without whips.
I don't even mind like the backtracking. Backtracking isn't what bothers me, right? Because like, who cares? Like
there's usually also
I backtrack in RPGs
systems and all.
Yeah, I backtrack in RPGs all the goddamn time. Backtracking is not the thing that's going to suddenly turn me away from liking a video game. I just don't know. Metroid just hasn't really. It's never really grabbed me. I don't know if it's
just hasn't clicked with you.
Yeah, it's never clicked. It's just. But my friend's like, yeah, but you know, Metroidvania infers that you would both like Castlevania and Metroid. I'm like, well, clearly not. Clearly, the Vania part is more interesting to me than the Metroid part.
Yeah.
Clearly. So, maybe I'm weird. I accept that. We already know I'm not the most normal person here. So, you know, I leave the normal stuff to you. But me, I tried. I tried.
Just don't let the wrong person hear that or you'll be a womanator.
It's fine. Hate me. I don't care. Do it. There's still a tweet on my Twitter where I'm like, Primrose is a hoe, right? Like we all know that Primrose is a hoe. Like we just accept. Yeah, I said that. That's on my Twitter. Go back and find it. I never deleted it. All right, go on. So when y'all come after me and you pull that tweet, remember, CD, I called it.
Yeah, of course.
Oh goodness. Today's episode is something a little different, a little special. Initially the story was based around a single story that is going to be expanded outward to talk about Final Fantasy in general, as a whole, which is going to be interesting. And the main thing that we were going to bring up, is the fact that Final Fantasy 15 has hit shipments and digital sales top 10 million. Gonna be honest, that's impressive. Impressive. Not necessarily, not because I think the game's like not good, but because the general reception to the game wasn't. How would you say overwhelmingly positive?
Mixed.
It wasn't overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
Like even after I went back and played a good deal of it, I'm a little bit torn on. You see the thing. Okay, so here's my feelings about 15 in general, right? Like I said, the road trip bro aspect, I'm totally about. Like you give me just these characters together, just being bros for like 40 hours, I'm probably fine with it. It's a fantastic road trip. I love it.
Yeah.
The overarching story sometimes I'm like, a little drama-y for my taste. It's fun.
Overall, honestly, I liked it.
It's fun. it's a good time. It's
Yeah.
definitely. I did
I mean,
like.
obviously, you don't know the whole background from the start, so it just
Yeah,
opens up bit by bit. But once you know the real reason behind everything, yeah,
and
that's
having
a good
watched
reason.
having watched Kingsglaive, I'm not saying that that's required viewing, but
Hmm.
having watched Kingsglaive and then
It
seeing
helps.
the events unfold that lead to some of the things happen in Kingsglaive towards the end, I'm like, ooh,
Hmm.
oh no, that just happened. Oh, there was a Megazord battle in the middle of the city. Oh, ooh, 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 Noctis. I
It
hope.
does help.
Ooh, Noctis. Feel
Hmm.
happy you weren't there for that one. Ooh, woo,
Yeah.
that's tough. That is
Hmm.
that is tough. But yeah, it hit 15 million in sales, which I have to think that's
10
really.
million.
I'm
It's
sorry, 10 million sales, and it launched in 2016. So
yeah.
that's not bad. That's
Not at all.
yeah, that's a
I
little.
mean, especially considering it did reach the first few million quite quickly.
So when I saw this, I decided I wanted to do a little bit of background research about sales of some other Final Fantasy games that might be comparable
Hmm.
to this one. With that
Hmm.
hitting the big number of 10 million. Uh, Now, Final Fantasy wise, the highest selling one is still 7 at sitting at around 13, but I don't think anybody would be surprised. I don't.
Nope.
Surprisingly enough, it actually now I don't know how often this was kept. 'Cause I know 14's gotten
Mm.
more popular. It has 14 sitting at just a little under 15 in the 10 million mark. So it has like 10.9 million for 15, 10.5 million for 14. Not sure how accurate that is. I know the
Mm-hmm.
game has seen a really large influx, so I don't know how
Yeah.
recent these numbers are.
And obviously, it's a bit difficult to compare games that require a subscription to regular
Yeah, because
standalone
it's
games.
like, are you just gauging it by people who bought it? Are you gauging it by people who are still subscribed? Are you gauging it by people who continue? You can't. It's almost impossible. You can't really. There's no really strong metric for that. Surprisingly enough, just below that is a Final Fantasy X at
Mm-hmm.
10.1 million, which I would say
Yep.
I'm surprised, but I'm not. I'm not
Mm.
surprised.
No,
I'm
not
not.
really.
I'm not surprised. If like you'd have to I feel like people would have to have been around for the PS2 when it launched. You know what I mean? When the PS2
Mm-hmm.
launched to understand just how big of a deal Final Fantasy X really was. Like I don't feel like you can really express just how big of a deal this game was that it was like promoted on the back of the PS2's like console box like as being like a big piece
Mm-hmm.
of software next to I think it was like Dark Cloud, MGS2, Devil May
Mm-hmm.
Cry. I mean, come on, man, that's stacked.
Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
you can't find. I don't think there was a console that had a better series of promised games outside of maybe what the Super Nintendo. Maybe the Super Nintendo. Maybe
Yeah.
I think that might be the
Although at that
closest.
time, yeah, although with the Super Nintendo, you didn't really know at the beginning what you'd
Yeah,
be
what you
getting
what you were what you were getting yourself
as
into.
much.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Following
You'd have your
behind,
launch titles. You'd obviously know Super Mario World is there and all, but yeah.
ten is Final Fantasy VIII. This one surprises me
Uh huh.
because for all the crap you hear about people having problems with eight, I'm very surprised it sold that well. Like, it's not a terrible game, but you know,
I mean, it's whatever, you know.
yeah. If you
Had to
want to
go
if you
there.
want to complain, just talk to a wall. Yeah, well, I've heard that one
Whatever.
too. He's the best look. You're the best looking guy at the ball. Yeah. Ooh. Ooh.
Well, in the remaster, yeah.
Yeah.
Before
Question.
that,
That's tough. Final Fantasy VI ranks right below it, but that number is doubled by the SNES Classic bundles. Without the SNES Classic, its sales are somewhere around the upper 4.8 million. But with the SNES Classic bundle, where it's bundled in, it jumps up to 8.9.
Okay.
I guess.
Though, I don't know where you're especially looking at the numbers from, but 13, for example. They have announced in 2014 that it shipped over 11 million copies worldwide.
Did they? All right, this is all right. Clearly, I picked the wrong place. I picked the wrong place for this. Really? 13? 11 million?
Oh, 13 has been really popular back in the day. Despite the whole complaints about the hallway, final hallway 13, and the whole press X to win thing. It was a really popular game. I mean, it wouldn't have gotten 2 sequels otherwise.
I can't believe that game got 2 sequels out. I still can't. Like 1 sequel, fine, but they did 2 sequels for this 13. I'm fairly sure Square was just happy to be done with it after they finished this. After they finished the second sequel. I think maybe, I might be wrong.
Each of the games I haven't played the second one and the third, but from what I know, each of them is really different.
Yeah. 13.2 expands on 13's battle system and adds more to it. And then 13.3, or Lightning Returns, is a very different game. It does away with a lot of the mechanics. I always like to say that was around the same time that I feel like Square looked at the Tales franchise and went, okay, how can we take some of this, some of what they're doing, and mix it with us? Because around the time like 13 Lightning Returns, Tales was kicking off. I feel like I would be surprised if there wasn't some influence.
13, yeah, maybe.
I wouldn't. Maybe
Interestingly, I would also say that something like roguelikes had a bit of an influence.
Yeah, they were starting to pop off too.
You have a limited time, and depending on what you get, okay, and then you start right back at the beginning and have another go.
Not for nothing, Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age broke. Well, this article's old. I picked the wrong article for this one. Because this is dated for 2017. It had already broken 1 million copies. I don't even know what the Zodiac Age did now. Because this would have been right when it launched. I don't think it came out for Switch the same time that the PS4 version came out. I think they were separated.
Yeah, it came out on Switch in 2019.
Oh, wow, 2 years. Okay, not bad.
Took a bit. Yep.
Two whole damn years.
What does it say here? Okay, as of October, but at least does it say anything here? No, the Wikipedia article doesn't say anything about the additional sales either, but it probably did get some a decent amount.
I mean, Switch. Historically, most games that get released on Switch do better on Switch. Who would imagine? I can't fathom how that works out sometimes. And trust me, I'm someone who has rebought games on Switch, Disgaea included. And then I found out that like Disgaea 5 sold gangbusters on Switch compared to its PS4 launch, which blows my mind. I'm still not 100% sure how that happened, because Disgaea 5 was a good game without like the Switch just putting everything in one package. So I highly doubt this is a matter of people just being like, oh, well, I'm not going to buy Disgaea 5 at launch because there's going to be all this content that's going to be re-released eventually anyways. I'll just wait till it comes out. I doubt that's it. Like, that can't be it. I can't.
I think it was also the difference was mostly in Japan, I think. I think in the West, 5 on the PlayStation sold better in comparison, but in Japan the difference was really, really big.
Well, there's
I
always
think about
been
10 times the sales on the Switch in comparison to the
there,
PS4.
there's always been
Because that's
that.
Japan for you.
Yeah, about to say Japan's always had this weird relationship with like video game consoles versus like the mobile
Yeah.
gaming. They've had a really weird
Not
relationship.
always. It's by now. Nowadays, it's or at least at the time, it was even more pronounced than before. Obviously, yeah, there has been a divide there, but given the whole rise of mobile games and the Switch, then, which really profited from that in Japan,
I
that
it
they
it does make
moved
me
more to the mobile part bit.
it does make me wonder though, right?
Hmm.
Given like the scene that was changing in Japan around those years, right? Around
Hmm.
like the time of like the PS4 and onward, where Nintendo's
Hmm.
blaming mobile gaming for the failure of their Wii U, which was fucking stupid. The console was underbaked as
No.
fuck. Don't fucking sit here and lie to me, Nintendo. I do kind of
Yeah, no.
wonder. I do kind of wonder because like let
Hmm.
me preface this a little bit. The 3DS had functions on it like Street Pass.
Hmm.
That was obviously a very
Hmm.
Japanese thing to have. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the Street Pass
definitely.
conceptually is a very Japanese
Yeah.
thing to have built into your console because you're gonna
Hmm.
have a larger concentration of people in a place like Japan than you will likely ever have in most situations here in America. Like that's just
Although in many of the big cities, I think it's gonna be
a little
just
different.
fine
Yeah.
like that. But obviously, there's a lot more spaces in the US and in other continents that are spread out much further in terms of that. So yeah,
I would have
that's
loved
definitely a Japan specific thing overall.
I would have loved to know like when Nintendo created the Switch, were they
Hmm.
primarily just aiming at the Japanese market trends? Or do you
Mm,
think that Nintendo was like this will do well no matter where it goes? Cuz on the surface, when you really think about it, it does seem like a console that was aiming specifically at like Japan's trends for the time when they were creating it, right? Like Japan's going more towards mobile, will make a console that can act in that space really well, but still isn't a mobile device, so to speak. They get both. The dock is super small, so it fits better
uh-huh.
in the smaller real estate that homes have. You see what I mean? It all kind of fits. It all kind of.
I think it was primarily motivated by that, but I think with the Switch they knew that it would be successful outside of Japan as well due
I
to the concept.
yeah, the not the. Well,
I think they were pretty sure with that.
I want to say
They probably
novelty.
didn't foresee it selling that well, but
the
I
not
think yeah, it was I think they were pretty sure that it's gonna have the advantage outside of Japan as well.
that novelty of hey, I can take my console game with
Hmm.
me anywhere. I can play it
Mm.
anywhere, and the battery life is mostly good.
Yeah,
Mostly, it
because it
mostly
didn't
holds up.
rely on how many people are in other spaces, like with Street Pass or anything. It didn't have any features like that that required it to work well
Mm-hmm.
out in on the go.
But yeah,
Didn't have
that's
anything like that. It was a pretty universal feature set.
yeah. It just kind of made sense, and it fit the market for what
Hmm.
it fit the market, and according to what they felt the Wii U failed on, it kind of starts to make sense why they did it, especially when they blame
Hmm.
the mobile market for the Wii U's failure and bad marketing, which was like 90% of it. Uh, no, like for real, I don't
I mean,
remember
the mobile market definitely also had a hand to play in it.
like
Definitely, but the Wii U had a lot of problems
like
overall.
I
Yeah.
remember Wii commercials. You remember those, right? Where
Hmm.
the dudes show up at the doorstep of some poor fuck's house is like,
Yeah.
we would like to play.
Hmm.
Right, right. See,
Yep.
you remember them.
Uh,
Do you remember a Wii U commercial?
mm, no, but that's more because at I never saw either commercial just live on television. I just saw the
Okay.
Wii commercials through advertisements on YouTube, and because
Ah,
I got notified of them or someone linked them or something like that. But with the Wii U ones,
no,
ah,
I've never seen a
no, I
Wii U.
don't think so.
I have never seen a Wii U
No.
commercial. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
TV was still fairly prominent. TV, so to speak, in its traditional form, was a still fairly prominent means of entertainment back then. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Sure.
remember seeing a
Has been much
Wii.
less for me, but in the overall, yeah, definitely.
I don't remember seeing a Wii U commercial, but you know
Mm-hmm.
what? I also owned a Wii U, so we all make mistakes, CD. Sometimes they're cheap mistakes, and sometimes they're $300 mistakes that come with the Mario Kart game. It happens. It happens.
Eh,
Happens to the best of us.
I got my time out of the console back then, so it's fine.
Goodness. So one of the things I kind of wanted to do for this was talk about features of
Mm-hmm.
the Final Fantasy
Mm-hmm.
franchise that I
Yeah.
I want to see come and I don't want to see
Uh-huh.
come. You know, Final Fantasy for the monument of a game franchise as it is,
Mm-hmm.
each game lives and dies by what features the game decides to try to have in their game at any given
Mm-hmm.
installment.
Yeah.
Doesn't
There's
so
been a lot of different ones.
so before I go any further, CD, which Final
Mm-hmm.
Fantasy games have you played?
Let me think. It's not been that many.
I'm about to say I
I've
don't
played a
feel
bit
like
of
it's been many.
one. I've played a bit of one, but not that much.
Okay.
Seven a little, but not
Oh,
that much
okay.
either.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
wasn't in my field of interest back in the day due to not being on the PC port at the time. I think wasn't really that good. So
Are you talking about like the old school PC port for 7? Are you
yeah,
talking like oh,
yes,
oh,
the old one.
oh, okay. Shit.
That's why I didn't even look at it because I heard, okay, this is not made that well. The music was, I think, completely MIDI, and so
Mhm.
no. And back then I didn't hear about the hype over the game either as much, so
Okay. Okay.
this just didn't really care as much. Let me think. I haven't played much of the earlier ones. 11, no, 12, no.
We know 15.
Well, yeah. 15 was, I think, the first one that I really played a lot.
Okay. All right, cool.
I
Cool.
played that one through on the PS4 back when I started it when it was really new, and I think I completed it once the bigger update was out.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that makes
think it
sense.
was that way, although I'm not really sure when I completed it, but it has been pretty early. It was kind of evolving as I went along with the game
I was
because they
about
did add updates
Yeah. They were really
significantly
determined
there.
to make
Hmm.
that game better,
Yeah.
or at least fix as many of the complaints that people had about it as they could without like
Hmm.
breaking the game over their knee and just rebuilding it.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, and then I put in several hours on the PC once the Royal Edition came out there.
mhm.
Didn't complete it there, but I plan on doing that there again. And the latest one was the demo of 7 Remake.
Mhm.
Haven't played the full one yet, but I'm definitely planning on well, once either it gets cheap enough on the Epic Game Store or there's a Steam version of it. Depending.
Whichever one happens first. Got it. Got it. Okay.
Pretty
Cool.
much.
Cool. So I'm gonna spitball some of the things on both the positive and negative side for the Final Fantasy
Mm-hmm.
franchise. So a little background on me. I've played a very large amount of these games, ranging from
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy 3, the original 3. I played 4, Played a decent amount of 5. Pretty much beat 6. Beat 7. I beat 8. I beat 9. Basically beat 10. Basically. Played
Yeah, 10. I did also played a little bit of
on
the
Vita.
remaster. Yeah, exactly.
I was about to say it's probably on Vita. It sounds like you probably would have played it on Vita. Bit of 10. Not as much as 12. All right amount of 13. Not a lot. I'm going to go back to that one soon. 15. Put in a lot of hours, but I didn't actually beat it. I didn't even get as like that far into it. It was just putting a lot of hours just doing side quest shit because I found the game to be fun and fucking around and trying out new spells and blowing up soldiers was actually my pastime hobby. I've become very good at it. So, you know, I feel like I have a decent amount of experience with this franchise, for better or for worse.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
I think so.
So let me start with something that needs to change wholeheartedly. Do not bring back stat grids in general. I do not want any more stat boards, stat grids, none of that nonsense. Oh, God, I hate these things so much. Like, I understand why they exist because, you know, you get to pick out where your stuff is. You've seen, like, the sphere grid in 10, right? The crystallarium in 13. The gambit board in 12. You know, I think a lot of it is because a lot of times these boards just boil down to like percentage based increases to me, and I feel like a lot of that stuff can just be transparent or just be something you see when you level up, right? You level up, oh hey, these stats went up. Cool, I know, thank you, fantastic. And this kind of plays into something else I kind of want. I kind of would like these games to go back to like characters being unique unto themselves, right? Like all right, in Final Fantasy IX, this is a great example. Final Fantasy IX, Zidane is a thief. He is always a thief. His primary skill is stealing. He does not ever stop being a thief. He cannot suddenly just learn black magic and start throwing spells at people. He is a thief. You see what I'm getting at? Like,
the specialized characters.
Yeah, specialized. I want to see more. I want to see that come back again. Final Fantasy X kind of got there, but if you decide to really invest time into the sphere grid, that disappears because then every character can learn every skill from every class, and it doesn't make a difference anymore. So all the characters, depending on how you play the game, all kind of become the same.
Although you'd probably have to invest quite a bit of time in that.
You would. There would be time investment. And my complaint here doesn't just extend to just that one. Like 13 does the same fucking thing. It's like you play the game enough and you power yourself up enough, every character can be good at every single one of those classes, or whatever they call them, the synergist, commando, you know, those things, the ones they had for 13. They can all basically be good at all of them anyways. You can talk about like, oh, well, this character's better at this one, but there's some minor stat differences, but at the end of the day, you could make any character pretty good at whatever thing you wanted them to be at. And I want to see more specialized uses. I want to see characters be more... I want to see that level of like specialization for each character kind of play more into the story, so to speak. Because you don't see that as much anymore. I don't feel like that really has been a thing. 15 was kind of like the worst as far as worst offender because they were all really kind of similar. At least to me, they all felt kind of similar. I'm like, yeah, Gladio's swinging around a giant ass sword, but I mean, Noctis could do something similar.
Yeah, but Noctis was still the special character in that regard. All the others were definitely specialized. Especially once you had the Royal Edition upgrade, when you could control them. You noticed that because each of the characters had their own battle system.
That might have been why I didn't really get to control them I didn't really see a point in controlling them.
The original didn't have that. That's I think is why they made Noctis more universal. in terms of that you had access to all kinds of weapons, especially through the Royal Arms stuff and all. And then they added the whole combat mechanics for all the other characters, which each has their specialized thing, like Gladio with the more heavier hitting weapons.
Prompto with a gun.
And Prompto with the guns, yeah. And the camera.
I would just like to say there are so many things in fantasy games that could be solved if the main character just pulled out a gun.
Oh, and at 15 they do.
Gandalf, like, can you imagine Two Worlds if you just walked into Gandahar's cave and pulled out a Glock 9 and just put two in his dome piece? The game's over. Like, what's he gonna do? I'm Gandahar, the great evil wizard. Hello, I'm the hero. This is a Glock 911. Have fun. Pop, pop. Done. Mosey back on. Mosey back on home. Mosey back on to the village. Tell everybody the great evil wizard is dead. And the Glock goes back into the chest, never to be pulled out again until evil decides to rear its ugly face. Just saying, gun solve. Anytime a JRPG lets me have a gun, I'm like, this should be the most busted thing in this game. This is so ridiculous. Why is anybody using a sword if obviously Prompto over here is packing actual heat? Like, yeah, you can make the argument that, like, oh, well, Noctis can throw, like, fire bombs at people and explode people in electricity. Like, yeah, that's dangerous, but once again, Prompto has an actual physical gun.
Sure. I mean, Tales of Arise has one of your main characters
with a gun.
Yeah. A nice rifle.
Yeah. Full on combat ordnance. One thing I do want to see. God, I hate bringing this up because it makes me sound like more of a 7 fanboy than I really am. I would love to see more variations of what 7 did with magic, like as far as like materia and customizing what magic you could give people more, or even what like 6 did, because 6 did a lot of the same thing. 6 and 7 were very similar in how they handled magic. Were like you could teach magic to pretty much any character, and they could have any variety of spells you wanted to have. And yeah,
although lore-wise, at least 6 was more unique.
Yeah,
due to it only having magic with certain characters at first, and because magic wasn't really a thing anymore in that world at the start, so there were really few magic users. It's a really nice scenario, honestly.
Yeah, there's a reason why the brothers freak the fuck out when Terra throws a fireball at something, and they're like, "What? What was that?" Sabin's like, "Edgar, did you see that shit?" "Yeah, I did. That was magic." Meanwhile, Edgar's whipping out a fucking chainsaw, so, you know.
Yeah.
I want to see.
That's one thing where I don't know, I was kind of a bit disappointed with in 15 that the magic kind of seemed
mundane.
Yeah, kind of just
kind of existed.
Brew some potions, throw them.
Yeah,
I don't know. It didn't really seem that interesting.
I would also like to see magic kind of have more of like an in-game lore, like a more of an in-game appeal, so to speak. Because like in 9,
I mean, the whole giants. What were they called in 15?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The
like Ifrit and all.
Yeah. Espers, summons, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. That's the part that I really liked about 15. That they made such a big deal out of those in comparison. That they really seem to be powers of really forceful powers, and they were a big deal.
And
even though they didn't have that much of an impact overall in this in that, but when they were there,
Yeah, and they actively like changed the world around them whenever they appeared. Like
uh-huh.
if Shiva was summoned, the entire place around where she's being
Uh-huh.
summoned suddenly dropped like 50 fucking degrees.
Yeah.
Despite that, Noctis was technically the reason. He's like, oh god, it's fucking cold. What the fuck,
Uh-huh.
bitch? Damn. Shit.
Yeah, I like that when they had that cutscene. I think it was in the train when she was summoned in there.
Yeah, like
He's just shivering.
yeah,
Ugh.
like I kind
Yeah,
of
I think 16 might be in that going into that direction from what we've seen of that one trailer.
I will give them credit. They've done good. They've showed us very little, which makes me feel good because that means they working.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mm.
I always get a little concerned
Can
when
be interesting what if they show something for the what is it now, 25th anniversary thing?
we're more likely to see that than see anything about Final Fantasy VII Part Two. I'll be honest. I think
Yeah.
we'll see that.
Yeah, that's probably more a thing for the Game Awards show.
Oh please, please, let this be good, please.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. So I would like to see more systems like materia,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. I want to see. It doesn't have to be materia or anything. I want more systems like that where your
Yeah,
characters.
more intricate magic system or more
Yeah,
intricate skill system. Yeah,
yeah,
I'd
more.
agree there.
Um,
That's
this is gonna be an unpopular take.
uh-huh.
It's gonna be a hot take. So
Okay.
I'd
Go on.
like to see turn based come back. I know. Don't shoot me,
I
everybody.
mean,
Okay.
there's definitely a fan base for that.
I would.
Obviously, it's not the current trend,
I
but
know. I
yeah,
know. It's
I
not.
can see where you're coming from, definitely.
I would like to see.
But
I think a
that's
lot of
probably
it.
something that's gonna be more for the side titles,
I would
like
I would either want to see
tactics
turn
game or
based.
something.
I want to see turn based
Hmm.
come back, or I want to see them really commit to like the action combat,
I think
n-
that's what 16 is gonna do.
like full on tails, like go full on.
I mean,
I mean, I don't know how full on
Devil
tails
May
is.
Cry Battle Systems
Yeah.
guy is working
Oh
on
wait,
it,
is
so I
he?
think
Wait,
yes.
I did not know that. That
Yeah,
was.
that was known pretty shortly after they
Oh well,
announced
shit.
the game that the guy that they snatched the guy from Capcom that was doing the Devil May Cry combat systems,
Oh well,
and they
okay,
put
never
him to
mind.
work on 16, which I think you kind of notice in the trailer.
Yeah, kind of.
Cause that's yeah, I think you'll get your full on action in that
Yeah,
one.
I guess my thing. I want commitment either way. I would like I, as
Hmm.
much as I would like turn based, some level of turn based to come back. I admit that's not a trend. I get it that the trend has long since left the turn based
Hmm.
RPG combat to
Yeah.
more of the niche bin, so to
Hmm.
speak. As much as it hurts my spirit and my soul, as much as it hurts, it is the way it's gonna be. I'm gonna have to live with that. Uh, you know what? I now that I really think
Hmm.
about it, I don't. How do I say this? I would be kind of
Hmm.
okay if we didn't embrace any more future settings or any more futuristic settings in Final Fantasy.
Hmm.
I'd be kind of. I don't think they have to go full on medieval, but
I mean,
I wouldn't want another
futuristic.
13. I wouldn't want another 13, like another 13 base
Mhm.
setting. That I wouldn't want.
I wouldn't say 13 was just plain futuristic,
I mean,
because if it's,
you have like
I think
jetpacks and
that's
Mass Effect
yes,
base
your
shields and
tech, the tech, yeah, the tech was there, but I think that wasn't your classical futuristic setting. It was much, well, how would I put this? Much weirder than that. If they'd
yeah.
go with a more regular futuristic setting, like say take 15 and add to the tech advances there, because 15 already was a bit more of a futuristic setting,
s-
but with a bit of magic in
you
it.
see
And
though,
that, I think, worked quite well.
I don't know, man. When I played 15, I didn't get
Mm-hmm.
as dumb as it's gonna sound. There were so many
Mm-hmm.
moments in 15 where I was like, you know what? I vibe with what you guys are going through. Your car broke down the side of the road and you guys don't have anyone to come get you. I vibe with that. That to me doesn't scream futuristic. That to me just screams
Yeah,
shit that
sure.
happens to me in my day-to-day life. Like
Sure, but that's mainly because, well, yes, those problems are still there. That's not something that in the future you're just gonna
get
do
rid
away
of.
with. Yeah, but because then, yes, granted, that was added in a post-release update, but then you get your upgrades for your car. Then you go
Yeah.
flying.
Yeah, then you can fly the car.
So,
Fair
and
enough.
I mean, overall, yes, much of the tech was also magic powered, but uh, Magitech, hum.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think something like that would be really nice. That you'd have that combination of magic and technology. Some in parts, maybe something like a rivalry between magic and technology,
Ah.
and then having some bits where you merge the two as a balance of it. Something like that could work really nicely, I think.
So let me ask you this, CD. I want your
Mm-hmm.
opinion on something. How did you
Mm-hmm.
feel about those numerous crossovers that 15 had? The Assassin's Creed, the couple noodles, the you know, like those sort
I
of
think the
weird media crossovers, like
I didn't really experience the Assassin's Creed when I only read about it.
oh,
I
it's
didn't
so
have
good.
that in the game,
It's so good.
but the cup noodle one was just funny, honestly,
the
because of
Assassin's
how over the top it was done.
the Assassin's Creed one is so good. It's now in
Uh-huh.
universe canon that Assassin's Creed is Noctis's favorite video game franchise. It's his favorite.
Honestly, I don't mind that as much.
That was
I don't really mind stuff like that.
that was that
As long
like
as it's a bonus thing on top of everything, that you have your consistent world, and then you add stuff like that as a kind of a
as
cheesy,
opposed
cheeky nudge and all.
as opposed to like Norman Reedus chugging down a Red Bull in the middle of Death Stranding.
I think it was Monster.
Was it Monster? It was Red Bull or Monster?
Yeah,
It's one of the two. Some energy
Monster.
drink.
It was Monster originally, but that's also gone away now with the director's cut.
Which is hilarious. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much.
Honestly, that was I didn't even mind that when I saw that with
I
just
think it
Stranding,
just
because I mean,
it's
whatever.
it's Kojima, and two, I think it's hilarious every time he throws in like real world shit into his video games that's like they're
Hmm.
so unusual and off the wall. It's like, yeah, Monster energy drink is a thing in this universe. Oh, well, clearly this is the same Earth I live on. Fantastic.
I mean, it's interesting that that brand survived the whole apocalypse stuff there, but I mean, okay.
Yeah, suspension of disbelief, my man. One of
Doesn't
the
really affect my experience of the game one way or the other, honestly.
one
I can
thing
see why some people it wouldn't it would bother, but for me it's
Yeah, like I said, I find it more funny. One thing I
Mm-hmm.
do want to see Final Fantasy do is I'd like to
Yeah.
see more content, like mainline Final Fantasy content set in the Evilise
Hmm.
universe, like the same universe as like the Tactics games, the same universe as Final Fantasy
Mm-hmm.
12. I want to
Mm-hmm.
see another Evilise based game of some variety. I don't know. Maybe they're not going to ever go back to Evilise, or maybe that's just going to be set for like side content. But I'd like to see an Evilise based game of some variety in the mainline franchise. You've done it at least once, so you've proven that you're okay with letting Ivalice be part of the mainline Final Fantasy game. So, you know, you could do that. You could even like make an Ivalice game that ties back to Vagrant's story. I mean, only a handful of people played it, but those of us who did would really, really, really like some follow-up on Vagrant's story. I'd love to see that. For God's sakes, man, we're getting a new Valkyrie Chronicles game, or, like, who saw that coming?
Wait, I mean, I think you mean Valkyria Profile. Right?
Oh, Valkyrie yeah, Valkyria Profile.
Valkyria Chronicles was the turn-based
Valkyria
real-time RTS from Sega.
I got them mixed up.
But yeah,
like, I want
understandable. I mean, it's been a long time, I think, since the Valkyria Profile game came out. Was that, I think, on the DS?
Yeah, probably.
Oh. Something like that.
Yeah,
it's been quite a while.
I'd like to see that. I would like to see that. Last but not least, I'm gonna go on a limb and say maybe, just maybe, don't do any direct sequels. I think I don't have a lot of faith in Square when it comes to like direct sequels to their games, man. Like, just stay away from direct sequels in Final Fantasy. Tell your story in the game. Let the story end, and that's it. Just tell your story. I've seen what you guys do with sequels. Sometimes they're good, and sometimes you get a 10-2. And sometimes you get a DS spinoff of a 12 game that nobody played. And sometimes you get a GBA and a DS sequel to Tactics that some people played. Just tell your story. Have your story be complete in the box. I know that's a pretty average thing to want to bring up, but I feel like Square is the kind of company that if a game does well enough, they're gonna try to do a sequel. And I get it, right? If your game does that well where a sequel is viable and, you know, you don't completely...
True, although it's probably not always something that's decided on a whim, like, okay, does this sell enough? We're gonna make a sequel. If they haven't planned it beforehand.
Right, if they didn't go into it already planning a sequel.
It's probably mostly the case that if the game doesn't do well, then it doesn't get a sequel. But if it does well, then they've already have the sequel plans there, most likely. Although nowadays, who knows about that? Who knows? We're gonna have to wait and see how that goes with 16, for example.
We're gonna have to wait and see how many more Final Fantasy VII Remake games they actually intend to do. You know what? Screw it, CD. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna finish up this episode with this about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Because I need to talk about this. 7 is not a short game. I know I make it seem short. It is not a short game. The first part of 7 Remake literally covered the tutorial for the original game.
Yeah, the first, what was it, 5-6 hours or something?
Yeah. It covered the tutorial. That was a tutorial segment, CD. There is so much more game. I mean,
they had to, given that it opens up after that point.
I would be entirely surprised if they somehow managed to boil down this new set of games down to just 3 games. 3 would make the most sense. It's just that there's a lot of game they have to cover in that second game. That's the thing, right? Personally speaking, if it was me, it's not me. I'm not the one making it, but if it was fucking me, and since we're not telling the same exact story as we were before, clearly they're not telling the same exact story. When they get to Cosmo Canyon and Red 13's grandfather has to explain to them all this goofy shit that's going on, right? Because in the main game, he explains like how the planet works, the life stream, how all life comes back to the planet. He kind of explains it to you, the user, and the characters themselves. Except in this game, he's gonna also have to explain like what the fuck you guys just did when you guys killed Fate. When you killed the literal embodiment of Fate itself, you killed it. It's dead. You have literally destroyed.
As far as we know, we'll see what that's gonna turn out to have happened.
You murked Fate. He is gone. Sephiroth is no longer.
Maybe one embodiment of it. We'll see how they have planned that.
I'd like to imagine it's just gonna be like 3, maybe 4 total games. I'm hoping it's not more than that. I feel like anything more than that, and I'm gonna be like really annoyed. Unless
that would probably make the most sense too.
Unless, hear me out. Unless it's only 3 games, but that other game is a game where you play exclusively as Zack. Just saying. Just saying. If it's a game where you play exclusively as Zack and they can officially explain to me what the fuck is happening in his timeline right now. Explain yourself. I would be fine with that. I will pay you. I will pay you 70 American dollars for a game where I play as Zack again. I didn't say 60. I said 70. I will pay you the $10 fucking premium. I have a PS5 now. All right. I have a PS5. I will pay you that $10 premium. I'll fucking smile about it, CD. I would like it to be no more than 3. Probably going to be 4 games. Hopefully, it's. I have a lot of faith. They haven't done.
You know what could be interesting? That at the end, when they're done, they have the ability to merge all to one big title.
To one big title. That would be interesting. I would like. I would like to. Like, I understand, like, game development is the way it is, so I would love to see them, like, eventually just be like, hey, here's the Final Fantasy Retold set. It's all just one.
The way I understand it, in the original game, after you go out of the area that the first remake part covers, you don't go back there.
No, you don't go back till... You don't officially go back for story reasons until, like, towards the end of the game. Like, you don't ever go back. You go back once, and that's for a very scripted moment where you have a boss fight. But that's the only time you go back.
Okay. So you essentially... It would be easy to merge the first and second part in that sense that, well... You just combine them, and after you go past that, you just don't go back there. It's just not an option anymore.
Yeah, you just can't go back.
For that, merging those two would be easy.
Yeah, for obvious reasons. The fact that you pissed off Shinra a lot. You pissed off the global power company who runs the entirety of the world. Congratulations, you can never go back now.
Whoops.
Yeah. Whoops. I would love for this game to pull some ridiculous nonsense and just. I would like it if, like, at the end, Cloud ends up seeing, like, all these different timelines through one, when Cloud falls into the live stream, which does happen. I would love it if Cloud just saw all these different timelines of him and his group going through all this stuff, and then he sees the blocky version of himself from PS1. Yeah. He sees, like,
and then he sees one alternative route where Zack jumps off the train at the beginning.
Yeah, he sees, like, one where...
7.
Yeah, he sees one where, like, Zack does the bombing run and he's the one that died. He sees one where, like, Tifa gets stabbed and it's not Aerith. He sees one where like everyone else dies except for him. I want to see one where it pulls like a multiverse of madness, and this dude just loses his goddamn mind. Q Tifa having to put his psyche back together after that shit, cause you don't stare into the void like that and walk away a sane man. I want to see it so bad. I want to see. I really do hope whatever they come up with to explain this multiverse multi-timeline madness, I really do hope it boils down to like Cloud and Zack like meeting up one more time, and then like Cloud being like, I'm your legacy, and Zack's like, nah dude, I'm my legacy.
Cloud's PTSD evolves into PMSD, post-multiverse stress disorder.
Yeah. Because so far they've illustrated that pretty much, like, because by the end of the remake, like, a lot of the characters who are supposed to die don't die. Like, the Avalanche isn't just Barrett anymore. Most of the Avalanche group is still living. Seventh Heaven is in the process of being rebuilt, which did not happen in the original. Seventh Heaven was underneath the plate when it fell. That entire Sector 7 was pancaked. So yeah. Look, can we talk about the fact that Shinra, this multi-billion-dollar corporation, legitimately was like, look, these 7 dudes working out of a bar in Sector 7 are causing us so much trouble. We're going to cost our company billions of dollars to drop a plate where people live onto them, killing countless thousands of people. Is Shinra just like, we can write off on our taxes, dude. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We'll just write it off on our taxes.
It's just collateral.
Yeah, it's sunk costs. It's fine, dude. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And Reeve is like, but guys,
buried cost.
Yeah, it's like, guys, those are people's lives we're about to murder. Shouldn't we at least try to evacuate some of them? He's like, nah, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's like, wait, but none of them? He's like, yeah, well, if we start evacuating some of the people, they might catch on to what we're gonna do. We can't, can't evacuate. We gotta
They're
take
expendable.
out.
There's no one important there. Do it.
One of the I hope 7 remake, the next parts, give me another boss fight with Rufus, the now president of the company. In the original game, you only fight him once, right? And it's kind of a cool fight because you didn't expect the president to pull out a sawed-off shotgun and start fighting you. Like, that just doesn't strike me. I don't think of a corporate head of a business pulling a sawed-off shotgun out of his white jacket, walking up with his pit bull, and then trying to fight me. That just doesn't strike me as a thing I'm gonna have to do. But since we're not playing by the same rules anymore, I would like that to I would like me to have a go again with him, since he ran out on our fight the last time. He didn't finish the fight. I want to finish the fight that we had. I feel like he owes me that much, sir. Just saying. All right. I feel better. I feel better. Square, no more than 4 games. Unless you give me a game where I just play as Zack for 40 hours. I get to just play as my homeboy again. Unless that's what you're doing, don't do it. 3 games. Maybe 4, but that's it. I'm watching you. I ain't messing around with you right now. All right. As always, everybody, hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Turn-Based Cynics. As you may or may not know, we can be found on YouTube at Turn-Based Cynics, and our podcast is available on multiple podcasting platforms, the least of which being Spotify, Apple, and Google, and a few others to mention. For those of you that don't know, this show is posted every single Wednesday for your enjoyment, and I do hope you've enjoyed this show. I enjoyed this show. I have certainly enjoyed the new format. And
certainly.
It's been a blast, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you all have a fantastic week. It's about to be a very busy week for me, to say the least. But one way or another. You got to get it done. Got to put those hours in. In any case, everybody, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you all next time.